Welcome back, folks. Hardpoint episode 4 is now live. CDL London happened over the weekend. We're going to break everything down for you, how all the teams did, the placements, the formats, the prizes, who did well, who did poorly. Going to break it all down for you. So to start off this episode, we're going to go right in towards the tournament format. We saw it Minnesota. It was the launch weekend. We just had sort of like show matches. We switched over to London. Now we have the format. How did we think everything went switching over to this new format for these matches?
Yeah, I kind of wanted to discuss this just because I think, without question, as we got deeper into the tournament, the most tweets that I got, like the biggest topic,
Commissioner,
was just some confusion about like how things work. Because obviously it was going to be like this 40-week thing where we traveled everywhere, and it was the league matches at first, and then there was that last-minute change that came in like a couple weeks before the league actually started, and it seemed like there was just some confusion because we've said like tournaments, and I think people didn't realize that it's not like a true tournament. It's more of league matches matching up with the tournament. So I thought it was worth us just sort of discussing the overall year and how this stuff works. Because even with like the bracket and the groups, like people were confused. So yeah. I guess let's first just talk about overall format. Like we had, like TeeP said, at Minnesota, we had the first week, which is more of like a showcase. Show matches, you got 10 points for a win. But that theme continues throughout the year with all the tournaments and everything. Every win for a team, they get 10 points. The only difference for that is like if you win a tournament, you get an additional 10 points for the grand finals. So basically the grand finals are worth 20 points is the easiest way to view it. Everything else, 10 points for a win. Joe, do you want to talk sort of about the tourney format, just how it works with regards to groups into bracket? And then I want to highlight maybe a couple of the confusing spots for people.
Yeah, I mean, I think Clinton, we all sort of discussed this a little bit. Like, I don't think we really did a great job. Like, we as the CDL did a great job of explaining it on broadcast. The way that it's set up is it's a double elim bracket inside a four team group, right? So it's two groups. If you lose, or if you win twice, you're in. So if you go 2-0 or 2-1, you're into the semifinal. We then go into a single elim semifinal, which people were confused about a little bit. They're like, is it double elim? Because that's just what we're used to. Which I totally understand. I also think like we were rushed on time Sunday, but I think in the future there will sort of be a big pause before we start the bracket to sort of explain what sort of has happened up to this point.
And the double elimination groups into single elim, just so everyone knows, is very common. It's been done in COD. It's been done in Counter-Strike. Yeah. It's a very normal tournament. Where the confusion was, the thing I got tweeted the most is like, how did a team with one loss knock out a team with no losses? What people need to think about is the group play in no way is tied to the bracket with regards to wins or losses outside of you getting seeded into the bracket. Once you're into the bracket play, the bracket starts. Group play means nothing. Once the bracket is seeded, pretend group play didn't exist. I got tweeted that a lot. Like they lost a match, how they knocked somebody out with and they're out of the tournament with just one loss. Like it's the same back when we had round robin. Like a team in round robin could have gone 3-0. A team could have gone 2-1. That 2-1 team could knock out the 3-0 team or like knock them in the lower bracket. So it's not like nothing's changed there. It's just, I think, because the change in groups, people were very confused. But I promise you, it's a very normal system. And
yeah, 100%, very, very normal. It's something that we've wanted to do at Champs for a long time, but just never happened. Especially group play. In terms of group play, you don't have those wacky tiebreakers, right? Those sort of map tiebreakers that I think has screwed everyone in here at some point besides Clint, because he never competed. And every pro team, right? I mean, it has happened to someone where you go like 2-1 and it's like, well, you're not in. So that doesn't happen anymore. But yeah, and then you go to the semifinal, single elim, you win 2 games, just like Chicago did, and you win the tournament.
Yeah, and
it's pretty simple, but I don't think they did a great job. Well, we did a great job on broadcast, sort of hyping up the bracket play. But again, this was very much due to time constraints. I think that will get better.
And a lot of people are like, why isn't this like 3 days, double elim, open tournament plays in? Like, people don't understand, like, those days are gone. Like, it's a franchise model now with these 12 teams. And there might be more teams added in. But the previous format was just literally league matches. That's all we had until
Be happy.
This is 1,000 billion times better. So why, when I keep saying it's a hybrid, basically with round one, like, there's no seeding into these tournaments. It's very different than a regular tournament. The round one matchups in the 2 different groups is meant to mimic what the league matches would have been. So like every team kind of matching up against each other once. Now, how it goes on in the tournament, obviously teams are going to play each other a different amount of times based on who gets out of the first round. Like, it's not a perfect system, but I think everyone in here can agree it's a really good first step to go from league match model and adding like a tournament element.
Right.
But like it's as much league match as it is tournament, really. Like it's really in the true sense of hybrid. I think people aren't realizing that, and like a lot of the questions and a lot of the concerns are like, they're not doing this right, they're not doing this right. Like it's just not, it's not the tournament you're used to. It is different.
Right.
But I guess I was getting pissed by all the complaining because it's so much goddamn better than what it was. Like it's so much better. And like just think about the moments. And 100 and what it got, we had like 115,000 viewers. It's the most viewed UK event ever. Like I don't know. I thought from a tournament standpoint, it was awesome. Like
it built a story like our old tournaments.
And just you can't do it better. Like you really can't do it better in my opinion, just because this makes regular league matches entertaining,
exciting,
like super entertaining. Like I wasn't there at the event. Neither was Tyler. Like I got to watch that from a spectator's point of view. That was awesome. Yeah, I loved every single match. Everything meant something. They're on the line. Are they going to make it at a group play, or are they going to make it into the bracket? This is bracket play. Are they going to win the tournament, or are they going to go home? Like it made everything that was really just a league match super exciting, because like you got to watch like a tournament style of a league match. Yeah, it's not COD Champs or something where it's like millions on the line and it has to be a double. Yeah, it's not meant to be. It's meant to make these entertaining, and that's exactly what it did. I enjoyed it so much watching from a spectator's point of view, so I thought it was awesome.
Enjoyed it too.
And if you want to change to the format or like double limb, or like part of it is just the restrictions of it being 2 days, guys. Like that was how everything was planned. That's how budgets were set aside. Venues were booked before the format changed. So could there be a difference in format and more matches? I would think that's probably a year 2 conversation. Honestly, I do. I think this is going to be the format, and I think it's pretty cool.
They're figuring out a lot of stuff up. Just to address a couple more things moving forward of like things that I saw on social media. It's like people complain about the whole 2-loss thing going in. It's like the seeding into the bracket is your advantage, right? The 1 seeds out of the bracket are in theory supposed to play a weaker team in that round 1 of the bracket, being a 2-seeded team. Like that's how it works. Like
any bracket ever.
Exactly.
Any
so people complain about that. Doesn't make any sense to me. The other complaint that I saw is the randomly seeded groups going into the tournament, right? I get that point, but I think by event 4 or 5, people will get really, really bored watching the same matchups in round 1 over and over again. And I don't think people gave that a lot of thought either.
And again, it's supposed to mimic league matches.
Exactly.
Like, imagine if you paid $25 million for a franchise spot and you started poorly in the year and you were the last seed every year and played the number 1 seed every tournament.
Every single time you saw, it would not be entertaining at all. Exactly.
Well, Joe, what were you going to say? I think you were going to add something before we all started talking.
I was just going to say we get 14 of these. We get 14 of these tournament style weekends. People have wanted more and more tournaments.
Somebody tweeted me yesterday. It said, "Hey man, we have to wait, like a week and a half for another tournament. Like you guys should add it online league in between." I was like, "What?
How much do you want?"
Like we had 6 majors last year with leagues in between, with playoffs. So it was like 7 to 8 with champs. We are getting 14 homestands, mini tournaments, plus COD champs. Like this is gonna be awesome. There's literally end of March into April. There's 4 weeks where we go back to back to back. You are gonna wait 5 days in between tournaments. Clint and myself have to fly all over the world in between a week.
And one other thing I thought that was kind of cool with his format, one of my big complaints personally at first was the fact that every team wasn't there. Like 4 teams weren't going to be at each one. But now that this tournament happened and Atlanta wasn't there and Atlanta's the next event, all I can think about is Chicago versus Atlanta. It's created a storyline that I'm more like I think Joe said it best. It's going to create these moments during the year instead of having 14 tournaments where you're watching the same damn matches every time. Like
you got to make them wait for it.
It's going to add variety on these moments, man. Like, I don't know. I think it's like it's cooler than I thought at first.
It's even like the opposite way, right? Like what happens if Chicago and Atlanta is not at a tournament, right? Because then we get to see who is the next best team. There's a lot of different ways to look at it. Listen, I love to watch Chicago, Atlanta, Chicago, Dallas, Atlanta, Dallas, whoever else, every single final. Sure, I'm sure they'd be great, but like the fact that we may not even get it at Atlanta. But it's an option is amazing because we know Chicago is better than Dallas now. I just think.
Well, Chris, what was it like for you though?
It's going to be interesting.
What was it like, Chris? You guys chomping at the bit watching that whole weekend go down? Like
It just sucked because like our team wants to be there. You know,
I'm sure.
After like Minnesota just being there, we're like, damn, like we want the guys just want to be on stage. Just
Great.
Flat off that.
Yes.
Like, that's all they want to do. But
perfect.
But yeah, I mean,
watching Chicago win though, was there any kind of like thing with your players that were sort of like, man, fuck that, like we just want to beat these guys now? Like seeing the community all get behind Huntsmen, a lot of people thinking Huntsmen are the best team. Like, is there anything there? It's just like, all right,
not in a negative way, but like not in a negative way, but it made them want to play more. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? It's like, all right, like our homestead's coming out, like let's show us like what our talent is now. You know what I'm saying? Like let's show out now too. Yeah. So yeah, like they were super happy for him, but like yeah, like we want to play now. You know what I'm saying? Like we want to get out there and play and do our thing. So we're very excited for the Atlanta homestead. I can't wait.
One more thought. I know there was like time constraints and everything. I guess with the single elim, I would like to see like a BO7 final. Thoughts on that? Disagree? Agree?
Nah. We don't need any more time. Our broadcast was goddamn 12 hours.
There's reasons for that, but
you take out hype battles over. It's still an 11-hour broadcast.
Fair enough.
Like that's just long, man. That's just.
I mean,
I don't think we need to do anything to add time. I think if anything, right now we need to cut down time. We need to go back to 90-second search and destroy rounds. Dom needs to go to 5-minute rounds. Hardpoint rules can be tweaked. Like if anything, series are way too goddamn long. Right now.
The hardpoint can be tweaked. But
I agree with all those points. However, I just think the final needs to be highlighted a little bit more. Personally,
so you're saying just the grand final?
Just the grand final. Just a talking point. I realize all your points are correct, Clint. I don't know. That's the thought I had when I was watching it. I don't know.
Wait, when did Dom become 6-minute sides? That's never been a thing, right?
Yeah,
right?
It's always been 5.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the players have done everything they can to make series long as shit. Like everything.
Well, I think that's just in game. I don't think
that was in game. I don't think players chose that. I'm almost positive they didn't.
Oh, I thought I assumed that was like a player choice.
Yeah.
The 2-minute thing, the 2-minute search, I will say with 2-minute search, it is kind of interesting because the offense can sort of play around and make the defense think like what's happening. Did they pop Deddy? But it's just too long. It really is. It's too long. Like I think we got to go back to 90 seconds.
Do a minute 45. Do something.
I don't know if that's a middle ground.
Yeah. All right. Cool. So I guess now we'll hop right on over to the actual results from the tournament. Gonna pop those up on the screen if one of you guys want to read through them.
I think. I'll read it. I mean, what Huntsman first, then Empire, Legion, Ravens, Surge, Subliners, Gorillas, Ultra, and I think all of us three got the top 4 right. I think Joe was the only one that had you had New York coming out instead of.
What I predicted happened the opposite way. So I had Paris winning the first round match, and then they were gonna rematch and like the elimination to like get out, and it happened the opposite way. So New York won, and then they lost to London in a game 5 where they got reverse swept.
Right.
That was a big deal Saturday night, and then they had to rematch Paris in losers round 2. So it just happened opposite. But yeah,
well, I guess I kind of want to take this time to just talk about, because we're going to talk about standout players and disappointing. Like I kind of just want to talk about Chicago, I guess, because we all picked Chicago to win, right? We all said they should win. They're the best team there going in, I believe, from the last Hardpoints.
We did.
So I guess I want to hear, removed from this, Chris, why don't you start, since you were like kind of just at home watching, not at the tournament? How impressed were you with Huntsman?
Very. I think they showed a little bit of signs of like struggles with some hard points here and there, but I think they played well. I think going into these tournaments, we talked about it a little bit more like before this started. You have that that bracket play now. You have that one, you can't mess up, right? You get out of those groups, all it takes is one bad domination in an S&D in your game 5. So they showed that they were an overall team. They looked a lot better in S&D, right? They played Dallas. They looked good in S&Ds. They won the tournament because of S&Ds, so they looked like the overall package. I think they did a great job. I think they were making great plays in all 3 game modes. And I think if that's the way that team's going to be all year, they're going to be a scary team.
Well, I think, Joe, you said it, like with regards to the search. I think I asked you on broadcast, like we heard that they were taking their first scrim each day.
Their 2 p.m. time slot. Yeah.
So and I asked you, like, how much can you improve in a week and a half? And you were like, a lot.
Oh, it's repetitions, man.
Improved a lot.
They look great.
Repetitions. It's not like just like anything else. Like it's all reps. Like
when
you do step 1, you go A. All right. When you plant the bomb A, what do we do? This is what we do. Like I can't. It's not rocket science. You just played it. Well,
game. TeeP, you were probably happy because TeeP, that's what you raged about on the desk.
Yeah.
Like last I remember talking about.
Wait, I was super happy. If you ever broke it down to just like a side note, like how much time do you play Hardpoint? Like how many times do you think a player played frequency Hardpoint last year, right? In Black Ops 4?
A billion.
Like a billion times. How many times do you think they played frequency S&D? Literally, like
what, 5%?
Yeah, it's like the amount of times you play that first hill on frequency hardpoint, and you get into a different situation every single day, but then you learn how to adapt to it when it comes to you in the tournament. Search and destroy, when you play at 5% of the amount of time you play frequency hardpoint or any of these hardpoints, like, yeah, it's just repetitions. Like it shows you how much that helped. It helped us last year. My team went from being horrible at S&D to being so good just by being in the scenarios. And in search and destroy, there's so many. There's 2v2s, there's 2v3s, there's 1v3s, there's 3v1s, there's, you know what I'm saying? It goes on forever. So yeah, no, I was thoroughly impressed with how well they seem to get around that.
I think a big thing to point out too is like you could tell they're coordinated with nade spots, like a lot of like just big brain studying things that I didn't really expect to see so quickly. We saw, and it really paid off for them. So that should just reinforce every other team in the league to sort of steal that stuff and get on it as fast as possible for the amount of improvement that they made in such a little time. I think the other point I want to bring up too is the fact that they're able to beat the same team that many times. That is not easy at all. I think Ant brought it up on the desk. Like that same matchup, like it's hard to do. So many different maps, so many different scenarios. Of the way Modern Warfare plays, the fact that they did not, take their foot off the gas pedal and they wanted to keep proving that point to Dallas, like that's hats off for them, man. They looked really, really good. And to be able to do that it's not easy.
I guess, I mean, the other thing we can talk about, because I don't think we really have a direct point to that later in the show, is just how we felt Dallas rebounded.
Right.
Because, I mean, especially if you look at the grand final, all those maps were close.
I love what they did with Vito's. Like Dallas, the when they play in grand finals, like
I liked it too.
Cave was really close. Arclov was really close. Like I did enjoy how they switched up the Vito's. And the thing is too, like I talked about it on the broadcast, was like Cave was a map we didn't see a lot of. So what happened with the veto process is teams are like, these guys are just flat out better than at Cave. So you saw more Petro, you saw a little bit more Hackney, right? You're seeing teams try to figure out where else can we go because we have to. So we didn't see a lot of Cave. And I think teams get better at maps, more repetitions that weekend, right? It goes both ways. But the fact that they just sort of threw a Cave in there, were like, maybe some of those mistakes that Chicago would have fixed in groups isn't fixed for the grand final, right? Like, because you didn't play it once or twice. So I really liked what they did with the vetoes. It's just,
dude,
they had an opportunity, man.
They should have won map one. They 100% should have won map one.
With
Scump getting in behind and outpost.
Like,
they had their release set up in East. Like, I think there were like 3 different spots we called out where like Empire should have won the game. Like 100% should have won the map.
I think Empire actually played that map better.
They played it better. Yeah.
I just think a few of their setups, they just got gunned. Plain and simple, they just got gunned down, and they made a few mistakes. But they actually looked very good on that Cave. I thought they were going to win it with the way they were playing it, but it just they just didn't slay with them when it mattered, in my opinion. So
well, and it was the first time everyone was giving Dallas some flack. It's like, oh, how good are they going to be or whatever. They handled business against the other teams, those other matchups. They sort of stack up how we thought they would, right? And obviously, a lot of players on the team were getting flack, like Shotzi, Illey, for example. Like, it's going to take them time to really pick up Respawn or really learn Call of Duty at the top level, right? Like, them just hopping in, they haven't had a lot of time at all. Go ahead.
I think the best thing for Dallas is that your 2 best players right now are Crim and Clay. I really do. Like, Hook's right there.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's the best thing for you. Like, the vets on other teams are like, some of the people struggling to adapt and get better. Like, the fact that these 2 are your best, Shotzi and Illey, are only going to get better. Like, we know they have a very high ceiling, and they're going to hit it at some point. And if Crim and Clay can continue to play this well, that is, it's a great time for Dallas.
And I think one other thing that Clay tweeted out yesterday that I liked, like kind of backing his guys up, dude, this is just a different era, man. And these guys are turning 18 at a time where, I mean, think about your guys' first tournament you to be on a main stage. Like, these guys didn't get to start with a UMG Dallas and warm into things. These guys got thrown into a franchise league and thrown on a main stage like that with the London crowd. And the minute it's not the same, bro. And like, they're just going to get better. 100% agree. But it's just like, it's wild to me to think about their first main stage versus like probably what your guys' was. Like,
yeah, but the only thing to that though is Shotzi.
Yeah, it doesn't apply to Shotzi, but it applies to Illey.
It doesn't. Yeah, did you see his interview? I think this is a different thing with him because yes, he's done it in Halo, but he's still like it's his first thing for COD, man. Like he's trying to win everybody over.
I think Shotzi's thing for him is that he just needs to continuously get more reps in Halo. I mean, in Call of Duty. Like I think I don't think anything of the main stage or crowd is worrying Shotzi at all, and I don't think that's an excuse if it was, but I don't think it is. I just think he has to adjust to Call of Duty more.
It'll take time.
He is brand new to Call of Duty. Think about Enable. Even think about Formal. Formal had a very fast come up when he did play, you know what I'm saying, in Ghost, but like Formal didn't start off the best player in FPS history almost. You know what I'm saying? Like he had to grow to become what he's become. Like
he did it fast as hell though.
He did it faster than others, but Enable struggled all of Ghosts.
Yeah,
you know, like I don't think
Shotzi may have done it faster than Formal.
I mean, well, as far as getting on a top team,
I'm saying like playing wise, like the way he's been performing, it's like Formal obviously played it pretty well, but I think Enable struggled in Ghost, if you want to say that, but then he became a complete player and then won throughout his career. So it's like, I think Shotzi has a lot of room to grow. I think the main stage thing has nothing to do with him. I think that would be more of Illey, if anything. But yeah, I think they have a lot more room to grow with that roster.
I don't know. You watched that interview. That stage and crowd was doing something to that guy.
Oh no, they were trying to make it back to Halo and stuff like that. No, the crowd has definitely been more severe, but I think at the top
he looked starstruck, bro. Like he was a deer
man.
I
think he'd be good.
All right, well, we should probably keep it rolling on, but yeah.
I think before we transition into the standout, disappointments, things like that, I'm just going to bring up the points graphic really quickly and walk us down. Basically, from the tournament, depending on how many matches that you won, you earn points, everything like that. You can see the London earnings on this graphic right here. Huntsman at number 1 with 70 points, Paris at 40, Empire with 30, tied for third with the Ravens. FaZe and the Rocker are at 20, and then you can see how every other team stacks up.
Wait, so quick question: how do you guys think it should? So I saw Clay like complain about this graphic, and I actually think this current graphic makes sense because it says London earnings. It says NA by the 4 teams. So like I thought that was self-explanatory. Those 4 teams weren't in London, so they couldn't earn points. Right. But like going forward, how would you do it? Because like I know they're not going to have the same amount of games played. It's even weirder because you can't really compare it to baseball where it's like games played because that's a set schedule, right? Like this is completely different with how the tournament structure works. Like how
could do like overall points. You could do like overall points earned at, and then you could do like London or whatever, and then you could do like events attended.
Events attended, maybe.
Yeah. Give something just so you know how many you've been to. Obviously, so if you have less than the other team, then you know why.
Because there's not really anything like this. Like yeah.
I mean, there's sort of like in sports, there's games played like column.
Yeah, but like the games played column, like again, you have a set number of games every team is playing. Like it's
still we're gonna get to a point when there's a team with 12 events and like or whatever the last event will be 14.
Yeah. Well, I just mean it's different because the potential games played skews so much because of the tournament. So you get knocked out first round, you can go deep into the tournament. Like the amount is like.
No, I know what you're saying, but it has to be events attended.
That's why I think it has to be events. Yeah, it can't be like a games played. Or,
that's all you have to add. I think that'd be perfect.
Yeah,
I think that makes it.
I was just curious. I saw some people talking about yesterday.
All right, cool. So as we transition over to standout players, you guys can see on the screen right now how the bracket played out. Now we're gonna go. We each sort of picked out individuals on teams that we thought really stood out to us as to making a big impact on their team. We're just gonna go down the board, give our takes on some of these different players, these teams, and why they were able to make such a big impact for their rosters at the tournament. So I don't know if Joe, you're at the top there. If you want to start.
Yeah, I'll start. I'm gonna go with Dens. Paris once again. I think it impressed us. I think Clint and myself talked about it where we weren't sure. Like they were obviously great at Minnesota, but if they lose here or don't make like the semifinals, it's sort of like a head scratcher, right? Like really, how good is this Paris team? Was Minnesota like a fluke or are they this good? And the question is now answered that they are this good. And the guy who stood out for them was Dens. The stat I have, he had a 1.28. The only other person that was positive on his team was Shocks at a 1.03. The other guys weren't like all below that. So, I mean, this guy, when it came to the slang, this was like a hard carry. Like, this guy put up some insane stats, especially in Dom, right? I think there was a few like big killing sprees that he went on, but it just felt like he hit a very high level. And you have to remember, in the semifinal, these guys went to a game 5 with Chicago, and they also beat Chicago in 2 hardpoints. So, like, Paris is the real deal. The question, I think, for Dens, it's like the same question for like Weskins. It's like, can he continue to play at this level? Because the main ARs right now are putting up sort of insane stats where they're the only AR shooting 4 submachine gun players, right? Like, you're going to get 1 or 2 when they're just sprinting at you and you're out triggering. But yeah, I mean, Dens, we've always known that the Australians had insane talent. We've seen it before in the past. It's just, can they consistently play that well? But in terms of how well he played, it was an unbelievable event for him. Like, he was disgusting.
Feels like we're back to that whole, like, your main AR needs to drop like a 1-2. I mean, not maybe that, but you know what I mean? Like, it just seems like that's where we're at again. Not because last year was so different, obviously. Like,
yeah,
they just got to stat and drop bombs, man.
Mm-hmm. No, you're totally right.
Yeah.
Dens look really good. Paris, I don't want to say they extremely surprised me, but I really like how they do their vetoes too. They have a different map set that they tend to stick to, and I think that really catches teams off guard. Like, teams may not be super comfortable on like the amount of Ramazes that they play, for example. So I think things like that are going to set them apart as the year goes on. Like, teams either need to change how their veto process is or get ready to play Ramaza a lot more often versus them in particular.
Yeah, and he had the number 1 AR S&D KD, right? Like 1.46. So that's
he had that 14-4 game to like,
yeah, he was doing it all in every game mode. So he's the reason. I think they're freaking legit, man.
Yeah,
they definitely are. Okay, I want to keep on moving down the board.
Was I up next? I think I was.
Yeah.
I did Envoy. I think this was probably the easiest choice of everybody. But what stood out, I guess, to me was the Petro hardpoint that Joe and I commentated. The one where he went like, what was it, 30 and 12 with like 3 minutes of the hardpoint.
Did he have that streak in the Hazmat Hill?
Yeah. Well, it was that, but like, it wasn't even that.
It was.
Like,
I was making sure it was that map.
Joe and I were watching him just on the mini map, and like how he was outplaying everyone, like in the sense of first rotated every time, and he won that gunfight or 2 every single time. It's multiple.
It's multiple gunfights.
It felt like it was 10 hard points in a row where just he was early rotated, he took out 1 or 2 players, and it's just over and over and over and over again. I just can't think of a performance like that I've seen recently from a submachine gun player. 30 and 12, 3 minutes in the hard point. Like, it was just insane. And that's just one map that stood out, but like, he might be the best player on their team, and that's one of the more stacked Call of Duty rosters we've ever seen. And it's just cool because I think he kind of came out of nowhere for a lot of people last year. And I don't know that I had a question mark, but I'm sure some fans did, whether he'd be like a one-hit wonder, or if he was still going to be dominant, or if there'd be any kind of fall off with the change from Black Ops 4 to this. But he's here to stay. Like,
it's so good. It's very easy to get lost on this roster, right? Yeah. Like, how do you stand out?
Yeah,
I think that's sort of the question at times, and he knows his role. Like, I think he had a very good event. I think he had the lowest KD at Minnesota on the team, but like, he knows his role is to make the heads up play,
and they're all right there, bro. Like,
right, they're all right there, but. We heard it in the scrims prior to Minnesota. Like, you and I talked about it. Like, he seems to be the guy on point, like having these overall team discussions of how they want to play, where they want to go. Like, he is a very smart and intelligent player.
And like, they were all like a 1.05 to a 1.13. So I think you could have picked like any player. Like, they were all really good for Huntsmen, but it was that. Then there was a Dom we commentated that might have been Petro too, where it was the same thing, man. Like, he'd be the one guy that had to deal with like the home flag. And just one-on-one win after one-on-one win after one-on-one win.
So annoying. Like,
dude, it's just like it was just fun to watch, man. Like, as a fan of Call of Duty, and it wasn't even like the flashiest plays. I guess what was cool. He didn't have the gunless 1v3 or like some super flashy moment necessarily. It was just winning his fights.
Yeah,
and he just took over games. It was awesome.
Yeah, just to add, I did some like VOD reviews and stuff like that, and you can see like particular players on the minimap standing out, and every single time, I swear it was him, he just seems to be like a second or 2 or 3 ahead in all those scenarios. And I think a couple things I want to add too is like the fact that he's dealing with such strong personalities on this team. Like obviously I watch a lot of scrims. You can hear it on the comms during listen-ins at the tournaments and stuff too. Like he is arguably the main shot caller on the team as well, while making all of those really, really good plays, while keeping everybody else in check as much as he possibly can. Like it's those intangible things that make a talented roster like this cohesive. And there's multiple times in listen-ins where he's putting up stats and making plays like that while directing the squad around the map, spitting out spawns for every single situation. Like go back and listen to the listen-ins with them. He was the full package, and I want him to be gassed up for that performance because it's not just the stats; it's everything else he's doing.
It's everything.
And the stats.
That's why I picked him.
Phenomenal.
You could pick. I mean, you could pick any of them from a stat standpoint.
Yeah.
Like all those other little things, like
crazy how he's able to do that much.
Not to underplay any of the other players. Like, they all played well.
They're all great. How much do we need to say?
Moments.
You know,
they
like
all had moments. Yeah.
But man, like he just impressed me.
Mm-hmm.
I just think it's impressive again because like when he joined this roster, he could have just been the quiet kid who just wanted to just sort of keep his spot, right? Like
I'm lucky to be there.
I'm doing everything I can to not get kicked off of this team, right? Like, and instead he's just sort of, I know the type of player I am. I know how to win. I learned a lot last year. I know this opportunity. I'm taking advantage of it. So it's fun to watch.
Yeah, no, he also I talked about him actually while I was watching this because I was saying how well he played, and he teamed with Major Maniac, who's on my team right now. And I asked about him like how he is as a teammate too, just because I was curious. And like everything that like Tyler, like TeeP was saying, like spot on. Like he Major has nothing but like good things to say about him. He keeps people in line when he needs to. He's clearly a smart player. He knows what he's doing. So like yeah, he brings a lot of, for being like a younger player and like a newer player, obviously to the CDL, he brings a lot of leadership that you wouldn't expect. And that goes a long way in a career, especially when you're playing the way he's playing. It's not even like super explosive, just smart and winning the one-on-ones that you need to. Like you have players like that can do that. You're going to be there for a long time and you're going to have a very successful career.
I think what else is interesting, Chris, is like we're talking about how important he is right now while they're winning. He might be more important to this roster if they start losing.
Absolutely.
Because if
he keeps the same mindset.
Yeah.
Yes. Like I think he might be the single most, because I've expressed my concerns about this team if they lose, and he might be the single most important piece of this team. Yeah, especially if things go south at some point, like in a tournament or two.
Yeah, because Gen G never won last year, and him and Major never won last year, but they always kept around there, you know. And Major has nothing bad to say about him. He said nothing but good things. So
yeah,
I definitely think he's the complete.
Yeah. Between that team and this team.
Oh no, of course.
This team expects to win every tournament like that.
Yeah,
but yeah, I know what you mean.
Package. It seems like it. We'll see. I mean, if they do start losing, then you'll really see how much else he brings, obviously through scrims and comms. But as of now,
enjoy that gas.
Yeah, he's looking on the way up. So good for him.
All right. Well,
Chris, it's your turn, you beautiful bastard.
Take it away, buddy.
Is it my turn? It is my turn. I got two
little combo.
I got a little combo. So at first, my original pick was Wuskins. I think that was pretty easy. Obviously, if you watched any of the London matches, he played unbelievable. Looking back at Wuskins' career, he's always been a pretty good main AR, right? He's been that AR that rocks your team, but he's never been the standout AR. He's never, in my opinion, competed with Octane for the best AR in the game, or Formal, you know what I'm saying, or RCDs, like all the top, like, you know, the big dogs.
Chris, if you told me 2 weeks into the season would he be the player we were talking about this roster, I would have told you you're fucking crazy.
Yeah. So yeah, that explains it. But like this year, he is on that level right now with those ARs, and it is impressive. He's keeping his team in the game single-handedly. I'm pretty sure I have a stat up here. I think he had 29 kills per 10 minutes in Hardpoint. Basically 30 kills per 10 minutes in Hardpoint. It's like he's slaying, he's doing everything, he's clutching when he needs to, he's just doing everything that he needs to right now.
Chris,
I think his passion,
top 3, by the way, of all players.
Is it top 3? I didn't see
only people above him I think were Aqua and Octane. So.
Yeah.
Wow.
So the amount of passion he has had for years, it's so awesome to see him thrive now, and hopefully he keeps it up, right? This is now the big question on him is he going to stay at this level? Is this the Wuskin we're going to see all year, or is he going to kind of slowly go back down and still be a very good player, but not at this elitist play, like at level that we're seeing him? But I don't know. I think he's the real deal right now. I think he's playing really well. The M4 kind of fits his play style. This team playing around him. He's got Jared running real fast ahead of him. Dylan really, like, he's got people running in front of him. Like, this is his best team he's been on, and I think he's got a good year ahead of him. And then my other pick was going to be Scumpy or Seth. I think people have been. I said this, I think, in our first ever episode. I'm not sure, one of the episodes, but I've always been a big fan of Scump. And when we were talking about the Huntsmen, people didn't really know like what Scump you're going to get this year, and people have given him a lot of flack last year for not being as good. But like I've always said, like Scump's standards of being as good are like the best player in the game. Like he's always been considered like the king or whatever you want to call him. I think this year he seems a lot happier just as a person. I think this year this game fits his play style so well. Like I think everything he's been doing, but not just of how well he's been playing now, because that's kind of expected from me. I've always thought very highly of him, and he knows that, and anyone that's ever talked to me knows it. But he's playing so well in Search and Destroy right now. Like if you have a Scump that is confident in S&D and doing his thing and playing his game, like there's just there's nothing you can do about it. You know what I'm saying? Like he looks great. He stood out to me. He's not known for his incredible S&D, but he played so well this weekend. I think if he keeps that up, I think he's a really, really big key to this roster success. So I like kudos to him. He did great.
Oh, yeah, he had the number one S&D kitty.
Yeah, that's not a typical Scump stat, but at the same
obviously
time,
that's inflated from that game 5, like where he goes on a 10 streak. But that was a game 5 where you needed Scump to go on a 10 streak. So
he had to do it, and he did it. So yeah, S&D practice, right? We talked about it. It looks like it helped him out a lot. I mean,
well, it's even little things like not even with the team, but like when he's just even playing with like the old men of Redacted, whatever. Like
that goes a long way.
Like those repetitions, it really does. Like even just GBs and stuff. It's little things, just like timings, learning spots, like those little things. So just more repetitions. But yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. Like for me, it's fun to watch his charisma again. Like it just is. Like I teamed with him for a long time. Like when he's having a good time, when he's enjoying himself, the team is having fun. And I think when he's not having fun and not enjoying himself, like the team's on fire, like which we've seen in the past. So
when was the last time we saw? When was the last time we saw him tweeting like this, just going to people and having fun? Like I don't know.
We've seen like glimpses, right? Like we could probably go back like after Vegas last year, and find stuff.
Much. It's been years, bro. Like.
But yeah, like it just seems like he's in a very good spot right now. Hopefully it continues because he seems as hungry as ever, which I think is great for the league.
Well, and just speaking on that type of stuff too, like I've seen Seth at his sort of like high. I've seen him at some of his lows. Like he's a very, very crucial part of this team. He's a very charismatic person, and he, to a certain degree, carries the vibe of the team on his back. Like he's just that guy. That's what he's established himself as, and the fact that he's started off this year so strong, he ended last year pretty damn strong at champs too. He's seems like a way better mood. He's on a new environment, which I really think he needed for the longest time. So I'm really happy that he's back in his sort of comfort zone. The one thing I gotta add is how long will it last for? How long he's gonna keep this fire again? Like he kind of lost it once. I really do hope he keeps it. Like obviously he's one of my better friends in the gaming community, but like hopefully he can keep it going. And to Clint's point too, what happens if they lose 1, 2,
as long as they're winning,
3.
I'm not worried.
Yeah, exactly. So good choices there.
One other question, TeeP, maybe you would know, or I could be talking out of my ass, which I do a lot. But the one thing that stood out to me is he had the most deaths on his team. When do we think that was the last time that he had the most deaths on his roster? For a tournament.
I think that type of stuff is just not a valid point. I think there's times where
I was just curious because I was surprised. I just figured that would always be like a Damon or somebody maybe going in before him, and the back and forth he'd have with his teammates, but who's baiting who? Like looks to me on stats like he's the one going in, which I just
it seems it's a trend in Hardpoint for sure. He's the guy that's like 15 and 15, where everyone else has like way less engagements on the map. So
which I feel is different.
Put Seth in as many gunfights as possible. It's Seth.
Yeah,
you want him in gunfights, and I think it's a new environment.
I'm saying it's a good thing. I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, definitely.
No, it is a great thing. He's been on the same team for so long, and you've seen it even like a little bit with Zoom and Attach. Like I think when they split, that was the best thing for them before they came back together. Honestly, I really do. Like I think eventually, like you just need something fresh. You need new minds. You can't just
you learn, you mature.
I think this new environment's been really helping him.
I guess I was just wondering if that's sort of meant to me by that stat, and maybe I'm an idiot. It's like it said to me he trusts his teammates more, which I'm taking a lot from one stat.
That's a big step.
Yeah, I'm taking that. Maybe he just trusts him, man. Let me go in. My guys got me type thing.
I don't know. Just a little bit of insight to last year. We were really good. We started to fall off. People started to not trust each other, disagree, try to copy other teams. We lost the identity of the team. And that's over time, when you don't trust each other completely, that's what causes those things to happen. That's what causes the breakdowns in gameplay. So like it might have come off like that, but like when you're in a good environment, everything's going to be looking a lot better and more cohesive on the map too. So they look really, really good.
Yeah.
Okay. So good choices there, Mr. Crowder. The guy I'm going with is Mr. Clayster. I think he's the person on this roster where you thought he'd be the worst player, right? When you look at this roster from top to bottom going into this season, do you think Clay was going to be the worst player? Honestly,
personally, from like a KD standpoint,
personally, no. But
yeah, I don't know. You guys might have different takes on this. But
I didn't think he was going to be
like. I didn't think he was going to be what he was doing.
Yeah. When's the last time he dropped the 1.2? 2006.
Right.
Like,
okay, 06. Jesus. But I just
wanted you know what I mean, though. You know what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you mean. That was fast.
I wanted to gas up Clay, man. He looked really, really good. Obviously, you know, this game, the style of the main ARs need to be, you know, sort of in that takeover sort of style. He's doing his job. You know, he's like the leader, the charismatic guy, getting his team going when they're down. They pull off that reverse sweep, right? Like, I think he's a very, very important person to keep Ian in check too. We know how Ian can get sometimes, right? So I think it's a perfect balance to pair up with these younger guys to keep their heads in check, keep them level-headed. And the fact that he's able to put up a stat line like that, the team looked a lot better in my opinion too. They seemed like they were right there of catching up with Chicago, right? I think it's going to take them a little bit more time, but it's going to be someone like him that helps his team improve at a much faster pace and to get the new talent up to the level that they probably should be at, you know?
Yeah.
I mean they are right there. Like,
no, they look better for sure.
Yeah, I've teamed with Clay, and he like the whole improving faster thing is how much he wants people to improve around him. Like when you get the Clayster that is motivated, wants to be a leader, and the whole nine yards, he is the best of the best at what he wants to do. It just depends on what you get. It seems from the way he's talking and the way he's playing, it seems like that's the one that I had in AW. AW Clayster, you'll never get a better one than that. Like that was the perfect player. He was slaying, he was confident, you know what I'm saying? He was motivated to do what he wants to do. Like I think like you're seeing a little bit more of a glimpse of that, having the younger players on his team. Like he actually has to be that kind of role, right? Like, and he has to kind of play like the other leadership with Crim6. I'm sure they have their own thing going. So like I think the current Clay we're seeing is good, but I definitely don't think I would have saw him as the worst player on his team this year, because I think Shotzzy and Illey weren't going to start off super hot. I think they're amazing. I think they have a lot of potential, but I didn't think they were just going to start right out of the gate like
for sure
absolute superstars. That's the only reason.
Yeah, I guess my point when saying that is like the community, I guess, looks at that roster and be like,
100%.
But I think I think Shotzzy and Illey are going to continuously improve and work hard, and that's like the best part about them. I just didn't think they were going to come out like right out of the start and just start dropping 1.3.
Clay's in a perfect spot. TeeP, what place did Clay get the first event last year?
I don't remember.
Second.
He beat them in the final.
Oh yeah,
you guys beat them in the final. You got second. He ended up doing all right that year.
Yeah, so he did okay.
I think
he's feeling okay.
I think it's different though too. Like for him, like because last year he obviously wasn't the star. He was very much a role player. Like kind of did. He had his moments, but this is I think this reminds me of like AW Clay. And I couldn't find the tweet I was looking for, but there was a tweet that was just like, my teammates just want me to do my thing on the map, right? That reminds me of what Denial Clayster was, dude, just do whatever you want. Just shoot people with your assault rifle. And I think that's why you see these stats, because I think when you go from team to team, you go from role to role. I talked about this on broadcast a little bit. Like, I wouldn't say you skip the basics. Everybody knows you have to shoot. Everybody knows you have to do this, but you don't play like super selfish. Right? Like you're trying to set your team up. You're trying to make the right play. And sometimes when you do that, you get caught, or, you know, you just don't focus on going positive 10 to 15. Like that's not your objective. And for like some of those slaying type players, most, I guess, selfish players. Like, that is their objective. Like, my goal is to have the most kills on my team. Like, there are some people who it is as simple as that. But for him to be around as long as he has and just come back to that mindset, I think it's a good thing for him.
To make it easy for like noobs to like understand, like maybe some viewers, like basic players, like I think we can all agree, like when are you frying? Even when we're playing Blackout or like multiplayer, like when are you frying? When you're not saying a damn word, when you're locked in, you're only thinking a little bit. All you're thinking about is the next gunfight, and like where you're at. Like you're not thinking much. So yeah, when you're trying to do too much and think about other stuff, like it's harder to play the game that way. That's a lot of probably what separates pros from the average person. But yeah, I think we all know what it's like when you can just like focus on you and just play. Like everyone gets that.
And each roster that you're on has a different level of that balance of who's taking over the intangible stuff during the game. But yeah, Clay's the pick for me. Dallas Empire obviously getting. Whoa, Copper wants to get involved again. All right, so I guess now that we're done with our standout players of the tournament, we can transition over to our disappointments, and this will be a little bit more negative. We won't harp on people too much, but I think we got to hold some people accountable. So, Joey D, you want to take it away?
Yeah, my pick for disappointment is Seattle. I didn't think they were going to win this event. I didn't think like they would get to the final. I just thought better. I mean, they lost to Dallas twice. They won a Game 5 S&D, but something still seems off with this team. And there is one thing that I want to harp on. We found the tweet, and I want to read it for you. From Octane, he says, good games to Dallas again. Didn't prepare well enough for this event, unfortunately. On to the next. How have you not prepared enough for this event after Minnesota? I don't understand. Like,
who's it fall on? What didn't you prepare?
Whose problem is this? Is this because like there was I don't know, maybe we don't know, something happened with a player, or they couldn't practice as much, but like if that wasn't the case and you still aren't feeling prepared in S&D, or you're still making the same mistakes in respawns, I just don't understand. Like, first of all, Octane had an insane event. I'll give him his props, but Seattle as a team, like, how is this still a thing? How are you not prepared? Is this on the coach? Is this on the players for not showing up and taking practice seriously? How is this still a thing? Is really what I want to focus on, because it shouldn't be a thing. Like Chicago, we harped on their search and destroy. Guess what they fixed? They prepared for search. I just don't know.
I'm curious what he meant by it. Like, I know he meant he wasn't prepared. Like, what? They didn't scrim enough. They didn't work on search. Like, what? I guess I'm curious, like, what specifically he means.
Or like, is he saying that just because they lost? Or
yeah, but like, that's just something you never want to read. Like, that should never be an excuse. Preparation should not be an excuse. It should, unless, like, maybe you could say once we get in that crazy grind, right, where we're like flying back Monday, leaving Thursday, like maybe during that stretch you could be like, oh, we only had a couple days. One guy couldn't play one day, not a lot of time to prepare. I get that, but not when you have like week and a half, 2 weeks, and unless there was something going on with a player, I just don't get it. I don't get it.
Yeah. So for me, it's Seattle. I just
Chris, were they scrimming though? Who do you know? Were they scrimming up? I
don't know their scrim sheet specifically, but we played them once, so I know we played them.
Right. Anyway, sorry, Joe. I was curious if he's
I don't know. Octane had an insane event. Apathy played pretty well. The other guys, you're still not really getting what you want from like your Slacks or your Karmas. I don't know if it's one of those things like where what we just talked about with Clay, where someone just needs to play a little bit more selfishly. Like maybe like Octane is playing like his role and he's doing very well as a main AR, but maybe there has to be one of those other guys who needs to take a step back and just be like, I'm making sure I go positive every game, like type thing. Like maybe it is just as simple as that, but someone else needs to step up with him and they need to prepare better.
I know who's going to step up. Who is going to be? Better. It's Teddy Rex. I saw this tweet from Teddy Rex, February 10th at 2:34 a.m. Wow, I just figured out what Seattle can do to make their S&D so much better. LA, it'll be so much better. Believe that. LA.
Good. Wait,
when's LA?
That's March 7th.
Because they're not at the next event.
They're not at our
First, I was like, when's that?
He figured it out then. Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, that's what they pay him for. So
yeah,
that's good.
That's good.
That's what they're paying you for.
Clint, you brought this up before we went live on this, but they did lose to Dallas twice, right? That's tough. That's difficult. I think this conversation would be different about them if those matches against Empire looked a little bit closer. Were they that close?
And they didn't go to a game 5 with Gorillas?
Yeah, right. Like definitely from what we've seen from them so far, it's just like everyone else just looks so below average besides Sam. He's dominating. You see when we're on his POV, he's the guy piecing him up on the heady, doing his job.
Sam's never not going to be that guy.
Right. That's what I mean. So like when we come down to like blaming people, do you blame him or you blame everyone else? Like I don't know. We still need to see more. It's
always going to be hard to blame Octane.
And I guess we'll get a better idea once we see them versus some different level of competition, right? But it's like to try and get out of these groups in this format, like, are they going to beat 2 teams?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's tough. But okay, so that's Joe's choice for sort of a letdown. For me, it was the London homestand. I had to go with the Ravens. We talked in our previous episode of if they didn't win this one, when would they win again? And from what we saw from them, they looked solid at certain parts throughout the tournament. They ended up losing in a tough match to not make it to the final. But Wuskin was the only player where we had that wow moment. For everyone else on that team, did anyone else really stand out at all with like these crazy plays?
I'm a bit worried about it, honestly. I truly am. Like it really does kind of worry me that you're not getting more from like your Dylan.
Yeah,
like,
where's Dylan?
Really,
that's my question.
Yeah.
Where's the Dylan of last year?
It really is worrying me a little bit. I think at this point, like I think Scraps is always going to perform to a certain level. I think what you're going to get out of Rated and Jerd, like they haven't like changed as players. Like Jerd's going to be your first guy in, not put up the craziest stats, but he's going to make plays. Rated always just seems to be that consistent guy. Maybe you want a little bit more from him, but Dylan has to be Dylan. If this team is going to win, Dylan has to be Dylan from last year.
Well, that's the reason I think we were more excited for this team than maybe we would have been, is because of Dylan. Like we've always said, they need that game-changing talent. We thought it'd be Dylan, and so far.
And then one thing,
it's not that he's been like bad exactly. He hasn't been Dylan.
To add on to the Dylan point, I know it's only stats. However, I don't think you would ever guess that Dylan would put up these poor stats. The damage per 10 minutes on the lower part of the score or the leaderboard for the event. Hill time, very, very low per game. Percentage of team deaths, very, very high. So it's like, is he going too fast? Is he not playing the hill enough? Is he not teaming up with Jerd enough? Is he just trying to go Super Saiyan mode without his team? Like, we need to see more out of the star in Dylan. We didn't see it. And how long will it take for him to change like that play style to like change those stats up?
In the sort of like that Super Saiyan, you have to do it all. He did at times have to do that last year.
Yeah. Oh,
right?
definitely.
So maybe he does have to take like a bit of a step back and just sort of ease into the game a bit more and say, listen, I have these guys around me that are experienced veterans. Like the trust, right? The trust has to be there, because I imagine if you were on that reciprocity team last year, you don't have like the biggest trust. There was a lot of inconsistent performances. So he was sort of just felt like, if I don't do me, we're going to lose. And maybe that's still in the back of his mind, and he's putting that extra pressure on him. And then you add the extra layer of, we have to win at home. Like, you hear these people, like, I want to win here. So yeah, maybe he just needs to take a deep breath and just sort of let the game come to him a bit more.
Who's going to be the next person on the team to step up if like Dylan doesn't, for example? Like, I don't know.
Should be Scraps, right?
Yeah, I guess so. And then
I don't know. If Dylan doesn't get somewhere close to what Dylan was, this team's not winning shit.
Right. And now it's a big worry. We talked about them having such a home field advantage with the crowd. Like, the crowd was amazing. They had all the pieces that they needed.
The reverse sweep was awesome, bro.
Yeah,
that was crazy.
Sick. Right. So it's just like,
so crazy.
Weren't
they up 2-0 in the semi?
Yes.
Yep.
They were. Yeah.
But
I'm worried for them.
To be fair, though, them being up 2-0 in that series, and I know like probably from their point of view, it was a little bit of a choke, and from Dallas's point of view, it might have not have been like they choked those 2 maps, but like those are very close. That was a very close going up 2-0. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
it's not
definitely.
like they dominated or won those 2 maps like with ease. So like going up 2-0 and then them getting reverse swept, like it probably did suck, but that was just a very close series. So like I don't think they really looked that good, as good as they could, in my opinion. I think they have so much potential. That's why.
Yeah, so that's the team I wanted to touch on. It was the London homestand. They weren't able to make it to the final. They looked pretty solid at times. They had some clutch moments, but Weskin being the only standout player for me so far is pretty scary. So I guess we can move on. Clint, go ahead.
I took the easy one. Gorillas don't look great. I think after Minnesota, they were better than we thought they were, right? What's tough here is what? They got smoked they got 3-0'd by Huntsmen, right? And then who did they play? What was their next matchup? It was Surge. They went game 5, right? Yeah, so they got blown up by Huntsmen, not shocking at all. Losing to Surge, not the worst loss, I guess. But like what stands out, and Pat, I love you, but I believe he's had the worst KD back-to-back events. In Minnesota, I think he had like a 0.69. Here he had a 0.74. KD may not be everything, but when you are the worst KD, when you have the worst KD of every single player, not much else needs to be said.
I mean, it is. We have the stat sheet. It is red.
Yeah, it's the worst. It's the worst of every single player. He has the worst kills per 10 minutes of every single player. The worst deaths. It's bad. And I guess what's interesting to me though is like, we've talked about maybe Blast coming in for this team, but I just don't know if Ace is the guy that's going to go out because like I think he's sort of he's sort of probably the closest with like the management, probably the guy that brought this team together and formed this team and the captain of this team. So I don't know, but
I don't think that, man. I think that's baloney.
Oh, I guess I hope so. I mean, if you want to improve the team, maybe that's a change that needs to happen. But it's still, I do to his credit, we're only 2 tournaments in, but
still early.
You can't ignore the worst KD at back-to-back events. Like, you can't. And the team is struggling as a whole. It's not like everyone's dominating, but he stunk.
And I think like some of these guys have teamed with him before, and we talked about this team. This is going to be an emotional team. Like when things are going well, they're going to be going well. When they're going to be going bad, they're going to be going very bad, right? Like they're going to be vocal about it. And I just don't think the players on this team are going to put up with it for very long. I imagine they're having the discussions now. I truly do. Like it wouldn't shock me. And maybe like some of the arguments may be like, well, he's a leader. He brings this, he brings that. And it's like, well, they have one of the best coaching staffs in Ricky and Bevels. So I don't think that has to be a discussion. Like Bevels and Ricky can talk to these guys and get these guys on the same page. So if that's a worry for like bringing Blast in, it shouldn't be. Do they want to give him another shot? Sure, but it's just how many are we going to give him? Because I think Blast is good enough. I think we all know Blast is good enough to play in this league. So it's interesting when you have a guy like that just sitting on the bench. It just is.
Yeah, like who's calling the shots? How much influence does the coaching staff have? You have like, I guess, quote unquote proven coaches on the team. You have a solid amount of talent. Go ahead.
I think it's hard to talk about moves already. I do. There's barely, they've played they played 4 series. Like there's barely been any gameplay, but if you were doing everything you could to start this conversation as quickly as you possibly could, Ace has done it.
Well, it's just going to be interesting because like we have the points leaderboard. You can't go down early in those. You can't go down early in CDL points. You then put the pressure on yourself, but we have to win events.
Yeah,
which I don't know if Gorillas could do that. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm gonna go take a look at like the LA homestand. Like, I don't know who they play first round. So this has OGLA first round for them. I don't know if they're gonna be able to beat them.
It's tough.
And then if they lose, they have to play Minnesota or Seattle. So like they right away they could have another event where they get 0 points. Like, then at that point you're trying to make top 8 so you can make the wild card. It's just like you put so much pressure on this team and you have to earn points. It's plain and simple. You have to win matches.
Yeah, no, I've been there as a player, specifically being down in the league and then having to win a bunch of games in a row. That pressure just sucks. You never want to be going into a match and having like 3 matches ahead of you as well and being like, well, we lose this one, we're out. But then even if we do win this one, we got to win the next one and the next one and the next one. You know what I'm saying? Like it sucks. I did it in World War II. It is not fun. Like so, and you make a valid point. You cannot start this year slow. Like you don't want to. You don't want to put yourself in that position at all as a franchise.
I looked ahead. They go to Dallas and they play Dallas round one. Like,
yeah, it's not easy either.
Yeah. I didn't, like, you know, it's a tough matchup right away.
But if we know anything about Pat, though, maybe he'll watch this and it'll fuel him. And if we've counted him out many times and he's come back and done something ludicrous, so who knows? Sure. But you can't.
I'm not doubting the history, but I mean, you take World War II like champs away from him, and I do doubt some of that history. Like, I don't think there's been crazy results, and we've had discussions of like, when is it time for him? Yeah. Like, plain and simple, like
we be a GM or take a job with the.
We've all known, like, sort of like we've all sort of just been like, he did it again. Like Pat got on a roster, and we're just sort of like, all right, he's on another one. Like we've all had this discussion where it's like he somehow talked to someone and got on a team. Like, So that's where we're at. Yeah,
fair enough. I guess one more quick point I want to make is about the Ultra. We weren't really sure going into the event if Bance was going to be the one playing instead of Metals. He was. They didn't look great. Bance had, some solid performances on certain maps. But the one thing I want to say about the Ultra is please stick with a roster for a while so you can get some actually like good data. I don't know what the reasoning was with all that type of stuff, but hopefully it's a move that they're going to stick with and give people some time to, stay consistent.
Yeah, it's weird to me because like they didn't look terrible at Minnesota.
No, not at all.
They didn't look good, but like Metals didn't play bad. I don't know the behind like the language barrier or anything like that, so I can be speaking out of my ass. But I don't know. Like now you look at it again. If they're thinking about doing a roster change, I have no idea. It's like Vance didn't do bad. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, do you take him? Like so it's
how close were all their maps? Because all of them are basically at a 1.0 KD, which typically. You're winning some serious. Like look at the stats. Like they're all like. I mean, Looney a little bit behind that, but like they're all. How close were their series again?
I mean, it's same with Minnesota. They played really close.
Yeah, they did.
I mean,
they lost 3-1, 3-1, but yeah, it just must have been really close series. I guess.
But yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like I don't know. It's just stick with the roster just so you know if you can actually weed out who's either not putting an effort or just not playing well enough to be on the starting roster. Period, and go to the bench. But. To just put mine in because I know I'm not on the sheet because I didn't really know my team. I kind of thought about it. I think I'm going to pick New York. I think not as like a super disappointment as if we were expecting them to play crazy well because like last time we obviously kind of talked about how they didn't look very well good or well-rounded at Minnesota. But just in general, like I didn't predict them to beat Paris. None of us did. We all sat there and we said like Paris is going to win that first match and New York came out and looked great. I was like, we're showing signs of life here. We're seeing the New York, you know what I'm saying? Like I have nothing but love for New York. I'm from New York. I'm born and raised there. Like I love the New York team. And then the players on it. I'm good friends with Zuma attached. Like these are like my brothers. Like you're seeing the signs of life of what they're capable of. And then they go up 2-0, like they looked like right there. And then
they lost 6 straight maps. Think about it. Because they went up 2-0 against Royal Ravens, then got reverse swept. They got 3-0 by Legion. So like they got our hopes up round 1 and then basically lost 6 straight maps. Just be
like that Paris.
I want to see these guys. Like I want to see these guys do good. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I love these guys. So I just feel like we finally showed signs of life. I was like, oh, they're back. They're doing their thing. And then it looked like they kind of crumbled. So I feel like that was a disappointment. If I was like a New York fan, like I think people know what they can be capable of, and
is it a mental thing? That second series,
I have no idea.
That second series versus the Legion, you beat the team in the first matchup, and then that second one to get knocked out was so bad. Like,
well, the S&D was bad. It was 6-0, but the Ramaza Hardpoint, Clint, that's one we casted when they blew like 2 hills. They blew like Barbershop. And the third hill, they had like 4 around middle. They only had 1 in the hill, and they just allowed it.
They spawn on the back or whatever.
They just spawn on the back. It was just like simple things where they blew like 2 really big hill setups.
It's hard to give up the back spawn in this game. Like, you have to like effectively try to give up the back spawn, and we saw it. We're like, oh,
like what is that stuff? It's weird to me. Like, is that a just mental breakdown? Like I don't know, man. It looked weird. Watching that match, I know exactly the situations you guys are talking about. It's like,
like map 1 to me, I don't know if there's a team that map 1 is like more important for, like legitimately. It just feels like as soon as they start losing, there's like a downward spiral.
Yeah. All right. So that's sort of our ups and downs from the tournament on individuals and the teams and stuff like that. We're already about over an hour, so I guess we can. We have a couple more points that we need to talk about.
Yeah. I'm gonna rip through some stuff.
Yeah.
We've been chatting.
We have been chatting, but very juicy topics, and I like to give a little bit more insight to the teams and the players from our POVs. But I guess someone want to take away the next point. The Scump versus Clay tweets when it comes to Scump was had some choice words.
I just loved it. I literally replied to one of them like, I love Call of Duty. Like, I just love seeing the trash talk going back and forth, and like you saw it all stemmed back from when DeSerto tweeted out the power rankings and they had the Huntsmen at the top, and then Hastro tweeted was basically, are these guys blasted? Like we're shitting on them in scrims. So now like all the Huntsman players are taking shots at them. Like I think what we want to talk about is like how this is becoming the rivalry without question, just because of Crim versus Scump and because they've matched up 3 times. Like it's become this awesome rivalry, and I'm loving the trash talk. But Joe, I think you think like we don't know if that should be Huntsman's focus. Like,
I think this rivalry can be put in the back seat real quick. I really do. And the reason I say that is because like we knew Chicago was the best team at this event, but the question everyone has is Chicago better than Atlanta? And I love that there's a lot of bad blood, and obviously between Atlanta and Chicago, there's not a lot of bad blood. But there could be in 3 months. There could just be some really intense finals that these guys have had leading up to our COD champs. Like
Beezy's gonna annoy the shit out of them. He's gonna be shooting bodies every single series. Like they're definitely gonna hate each other.
I love all the energy right now. I love all the storylines, but it's almost just like, don't lose focus on who's waiting for you. Like there is a sleeping beast who just sat on the sidelines of that tournament and is sitting there like, can't wait to play. Like the little kids just gaming away, just can't wait. Like, can't wait, just get me in there. Like just laughing, just bagging people, just bagging, dude. Like they cannot wait.
Well,
so that's where I'm at. Like I love the Dallas Chicago rivalry. It's bad blood. Like I had some in my playing career. Like there was always that one team you wanted to beat, but we all know Atlanta is going to be a big test for both teams because Chicago's won. That's out of the question now. Like we know they are one of the best teams in the world, and there's some pressure for Atlanta to, I think, get to the final. So we'll see what happens, but. Well, that's kind of where I'm at with it.
I don't think we need to even spend any more time on that because we're running along on the show, and I just kind of want to talk about it because I thought it was cool. But all right, for this next part, I kind of want to give my opinion and then hear what you guys think about my thoughts on this. So, because I've tweeted about it a lot and talked about it, should there be an MVP? Should there be a trophy at every event? Now, I'm just going to start out by saying the issue at the first event, to my knowledge, and I don't know exactly where the ball was dropped, but we had to be out of the venue at a certain time. So the whole ceremony at the end was anything that was going to happen got killed anyway, because we had to be out. Like it's like London law, or with that venue, like we had to be out at 11. Like it would have been a big issue had we gone longer in that series. I don't know what would have happened exactly. And we've had fans get kicked out of that venue before. Like we had to get out of there. So everything got scrapped. We just got out. But I don't think anyone really thought about the trophy thing, because you got to remember, this was supposed to be league matches. This took over as like a hybrid for league matches. So I don't think there's probably a lot of people internally that didn't think about these as like true tournaments, because they're not exactly like they are, but they're not. So I think it honestly just sort of it just got missed. I really do. Like, I don't think anyone thought about it until like
that's so
2 days
lame,
before the event.
though.
They were like, oh, no. I get what you're saying, but like, I just honestly think it didn't really cross someone's mind.
That's a mistake.
So, yeah, 100%. I guarantee you're not going to see that going forward. I agree with you. I just think it was an oversight and it'll get fixed. But I think how it should be going forward, because I don't think these are the same as like a major in the past. I don't think it should be some big trophy,
Agreed.
some huge thing. I think it could be a plaque, a medal, a fucking patch on the jersey, a trophy that has some local flavor.
Patch on the jersey.
And I think the teams could be responsible for it. And it's just this, not small, but kind of a small gesture, because we have 14 of these things, man. Yeah. There's a lot of them. Like it's not a major exactly. So that's how I do that. And then for the MVP thing, I actually don't think there should be an MVP every event. And I'm curious to hear what you guys think. But I think, as much as not everything's like regular sports, I think our model is now more like regular sports, where I think there should be a regular season MVP, like covering the home series, and then a champs MVP. That's how I feel about it. I don't know if there's.
I don't care about MVPs at all.
I don't care about the MVP.
I don't even. I don't even think we should
end. Or
I don't even think we should have an MVP ever. I've never thought that.
Okay.
I could care less.
I've been the same way.
But would you be fine with a regular season MVP and a champs MVP?
I think that's fine because that's cool. But I for every event and like having an MVP, like I don't know. I think it's fine to just do a regular season and the champs MVP. Like those are like.
I think the one
understandable, but I don't know for every event. I don't think we need.
I get why it's cool for players to win.
Agreed for the small accolade. I think the one thing maybe this is an idea. You know how Scuff does like the team of the week or team of the weekend or whatever, and pick individuals from each team. Yeah. I want players to be individually highlighted a little bit more, and there's a way to do that. I don't know if it's MVP or another system, but like rather than just like randomly bringing them up on the broadcast of like, hey, they went off in this hard point, like something at the end to be like, yo, these individuals went off.
Wasn't that basically what the Scuff team of the week is?
Yeah, pretty much. But like, I don't know, something that's more legit. Does that make sense? Like, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I want the players to get gassed up a little more. I want them to feel more special about this. And like, if the players feel special, then everyone else will feel special too.
No, they definitely should. I agree with that. But yeah, the regular season MVP is cool. I think that would be probably the best bet. I agree with you, Tyler, 100%. I think that's just the best way to do it. And then, yeah, I think a trophy. I honestly think the patches on the jersey are pretty dope. I actually love that idea a lot. I didn't even think of that, but it's I don't think you need a big trophy. You know what I'm saying? Like even a medal. Like, but it's cool. I mean, let's be real here. Like you have younger players now. In 5 years from now, obviously that's like the goal. If you won like 25 of them, it's cool. You know what I'm saying? So like you want something to remember. You can't just like, for example, like the Huntsmen, like, oh, we won that one, but if you don't have anything to remember it, you'll never have it. So it's like, I definitely think it should be something pretty cool. And at the end of the year, imagine every time like you hang up the jersey for the end of the year and it has like 6 patches on it. That's sick. You know, that's really cool.
Yeah, because we can't be
something little, but it can't be nothing.
As much as I said they aren't major tournaments, exactly, it's not the same thing. Like you can't be short-sighted though, because like if you think about it long term, they are our most important.
Medals would be dope too.
Like going forward, like 10 years from now, maybe you just have home series and champs. Like, I don't know. Things could change. I mean, we're not probably on our final version of what this will look like, but
definitely not.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I've heard. I don't know. I've thought about a bunch of different things with this, but yeah, as much as I'm not trying to make an excuse for anyone, and I don't think it was like acceptable exactly. Tyler, I'm serious. Where I think it was just like you don't realize. And Joe probably has more insight, but when that format changed, when that went from league format to this hybrid, you can't fathom how many little fucking things changed and how many little things need to be figured out. And it's in the
priorities to everything. I get
how many little things, and I think it literally was just. It's just one of those things that
it's one of those things too. It's like, does it fall on the league? Does it fall on the team hosting it? Yeah. Like, you know, it's there's a bunch of it'll be fixed.
I think once it was noticed, honestly, because I got a call from somebody that works. I'm not going to say names, but I called from someone that worked internally that listened to our last Hardpoints episode when we talked about whether it was championship or not. And he called me and he was like, "Shit!" And I was like, "He's like, we didn't really think about that, like whether it was or not, because." It kind of is, but it isn't. Like it's just like we were talking about. Like it's sort of this weird gray area, right, between what was and what is. So yeah, it'll get fixed, man. I don't think we have to worry about it going forward. And I feel for the Huntsmen guys who would have liked that to be handled better. But
moral of the story,
it'll get fixed.
They'll give them a patch.
More accolades, more gas for the players. I want the players to be highlighted as much.
You can still give them a medal.
Yeah, that's true. You can still do it, and maybe that'll happen. Well, I saw Hector was getting something made for them, so who knows what'll happen. But I think it's one of those things that we knew there would be. We knew there would be some missteps. We knew there would be some bumps in the road. Like it's a completely new league. To me, this falls is one of those things that's just like a whoops. Now we fix it, and it's not a big deal. Very shortly.
Wait. Side note too. I just want to point out. I thought it was pretty cool that the Huntsman won on Hex's birthday.
Yeah.
I thought that was awesome. I think Hector's a great guy. I think all of you guys agree. But I think he's a great guy. I think him switching over to the Huntsman and obviously having the whole thing with Oxford, the Huntsman and everything, and then him winning on his birthday, the first ever championship of the CDL. Sure. I think it was very fitting. I think it was very cool, and happy birthday to him. I thought that was awesome. So yeah,
that was really good.
We stand Hector.
Listen,
here. We love it. We love some Hector.
A few things since I was at home watching the broadcast. I want to just throw it out there too. The delays need to be worked on. The whole hype battles thing. We all saw what happened with that. That was very, very annoying for a lot of people involved. I'm sure that thing's got to get sorted. Different priorities, different players. I don't know what the fix is there. That needs to get fixed. And then the amount of ad like cutoffs during the broadcast too. I realize it, Clint, you kind of explained a little earlier that it's an intense process.
I'll kind of talk about it like obvious. I don't know the exact workings of it, but it's an internal ad thing that's run. So it's not like just so like, you know, ad block and stuff is right. Isn't like your typical YouTube ads. It's like it's injected ads, and it's I'm not going to even try to explain it. I don't even know what I'd be allowed to talk about, not talk about. Just know that it's very complicated and clearly something was off, but they're aware of it.
I just want to be that voice from watching the stream and the amount of times I saw you two, everybody else, the talent people getting cut off, no BS, over 30 times over the course of, you know, that long broadcast. Like, it's just a bad.
I didn't realize it was a thing.
It was bad. Like, Crowder, you watched too.
It was annoying to watch. I'm like 100%.
Oh my goodness! A couple times, you know, you can deal with that.
Joe and I didn't even know after day one. I didn't even know because we were probably watching it directly.
We must not have had anything important to say. It's fine.
Yeah, I felt bad for the talent. It's just like, damn, like that often. Like,
but to gas the other side of this, because we kind of went at production a little bit. Like, I kind of want to touch on that a little bit because I know we gave some flack to the CDL production side for Minnesota. I just kind of want to say I was really impressed with a lot of the improvements.
For sure.
That went around with regards to the observing or even stuff for us personally.
Observing got way better. Yes.
That just to separate a couple things too, because like we have like there's like a staff of CDL producers and director and stuff. They're all really intelligent, incredible, amazing people that really worked hard to improve things in a very short turnover. But you have to remember too, there's like different. They partner with different production companies. There'll be other production companies in North America, some in Europe. And obviously the biggest issue with this event for me, and I think for people at home, was the audio. Like there were a lot of audio issues. And like, thankfully, that is not something that won't be an issue at the next event. Like that's just I don't want to say contractor exactly. It was like an EU production company we partnered with. And whoever was handling audio was blasted. Dude, some of the equipment, man, like Joe and I were laughing. Like we saw the production truck and it just looked like, I don't know. It just wasn't like,
our mixer from 1972.
It just wasn't what we had like in Minnesota. It's like a lot of things will be fixed there, but like I've just been I was very critical of stuff last time, and I'm down to gas it when I think there were improvements, and there's a lot of people working hard to make stuff better. And I guess from when I was watching, I thought there were a lot of things that looked better. It was just the audio stuff that I thought.
A couple negative things I wanted to touch on. Watching from home, I was engaged. I loved watching. I obviously am super involved with the community and everything, but just the straight up gameplay, the other content, the filler and stuff, I had a really good time watching. Just like as non-biased.
It was a good show.
Yeah, it's a good show. It was a fun show. I really enjoyed watching. The games were good. Teams are looking a lot better than what they did at Minnesota already. I love it, man. But just a couple negatives along with the positives.
Atlanta will 100% be the best broadcast we've had. I have no doubt whatsoever.
I bet each new one is going to be better and better. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
And then last thing, we got a little teaser today. A little teaser of a potential, I don't know, is it a BR? Is it something else? Are we?
It better, goddamn.
It better be a BR. Give it to us. BTB needs something new to take over, baby.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's not the
Come
studio
on,
playlist.
please. I want it so
please.
bad. I want it so bad.
I just don't. I mean, I'm equally parts excited and anxious. I'll be honest with you. Like, I can't wait to play it. Like, regardless of good, bad, weird, like we are going to be grinding it.
Yep.
We're going to be the best goddamn team in the world. But, but like, I'm still nervous because dude. You know what it was like with Blackout? Like, dude, just thinking about like the armor change, all the drastic changes that happened over the first like 3-4 months. Like, it took a while to get to that sweet spot. I would assume it's going to be kind of the same thing. Like, there's going to be some good, some bad. They're going to have to work on it a lot. I'm excited.
I'm excited for something new.
Oh, something new.
We played a little bit of Blackout, bro.
Just a little bit. I think no matter what, like it's going to be. By the time we fully learn the game, you know, like it's going to be months into it. Like we're already going to be anticipating like the next one. I think it's perfect timing. Honestly, I'm super excited. I cannot wait any longer, to be honest. So. I've played a lot of Blackout. I'm ready for the next game.
Will you burn out on Blackout, Chris? You don't say.
You know, just a little bit. Yeah, I can't wait. I'm the happiest person in the world right now. So
Joe,
I'm excited. Joe, what's going on down there?
What's going on,
How you
Joe?
doing? I'm gonna reserve myself. I mean, I'm happy it's new content, but I don't really trust them. So that's it for me. Yeah.
All right. That's a fair point.
I'm gonna keep my opinion to myself until we see gameplay.
Yeah.
I've heard some rumors. I've heard some things already that I'm just sort of like, I'm already like, nah. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Fair enough. Different sides of the coin for sure.
I mean, listen, I love Blackout. I love BRs. Our streams are great because of it, but I'm just being realistic. Of
course,
someone's got to be. Right?
I'm very nervous. I am. They scare the hell out of me. They really do.
Yeah.
That's it.
All right.
All right.
We'll end on that note then, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Make sure you guys sub to each of our YouTube channels, follow our Twitch streams, and follow the Hardpoints podcast on Spotify, Apple, and Google Play for future episodes. We'll see you guys next time for the pre-Atlanta episode. See you guys.
Goodbye.